If there's one country's horror movies that are unbeatable and truly worth watching, aside from Thailand, it has to be Indonesia. Why do Thai and Indonesian horror films manage to endure and even thrive, becoming leaders in the 21st century? Perhaps this masterpiece holds the answer. Rumor has it, this is the only horror film that even ghosts are afraid of. It's the film that catapulted Indonesia to the top, Satan Slays 2. This 1,000-resident apartment complex has only one dilapidated elevator. One day, while a woman was waiting for the elevator, coins accidentally fell from her bag and slipped through an unrepaired hole into the shaft. This action unwittingly ignited a deadly chain reaction. As the old, poorly maintained elevator began descending, it malfunctioned, getting stuck mid-air. The doors accidentally opened on the first floor, and the children outside saw the coins in the shaft, rushing in to grab them. No one trapped in the elevator knew what was about to happen. In this environment where everyone is on edge, the survival instinct is heightened. Suddenly, the cables snapped, and the elevator plummeted uncontrollably. The children, mesmerized by the coins, didn't notice the danger above them. When one child realized something was wrong and called out to her friends, it was already too late. Almost everyone involved in the accident died, but the father, Bari, appeared physically unscathed. What's even stranger is that he always carries a black suitcase to and from work, and even when he gets home, he locks it securely in his locker. This odd behavior led to suspicions that the briefcase held a dark secret. Was this tragedy mere coincidence, or was it fate? The story also begins with a bizarre exhumation case in 1955. One night, all the bodies in a cemetery were exhumed and arranged in a kneeling position in a hall. According to Haru, the cleaning lady found the room full of bodies the next morning. She was only 40, but her hair turned white and fell out rapidly after the discovery. What's even weirder is that these bodies are kneeling in the direction of the woman on the wall. Undoubtedly, this case was connected to her. Realizing the complexity, Haru wanted to publicize the case through a reporter, but with a 2-week summit in Africa, journalists will have to put this story on hold for now. This delay stretched to 1988. 33 years later, under immense psychological pressure, Haru hanged himself at home. The only relics left behind were the materials he had used to track down that incident over the years, plus a few pictures of torture and a staff that resembled a mortar and pestle. Determined to solve the case, Buddyman decided to take over and find out the truth, to give Haru some peace. One day, children playing stumbled upon a stone slab buried underground, faintly covered in inscriptions, "To Bondi." It looked like an old tombstone. His friends dismissed it as his imagination. At dinner, Bondi told his sister about the stone, but she didn't believe a 15-year-old story, urging him to focus his imagination on schoolwork instead. However, Rini's discovery that night contradicted her words. The garbage chute on the 8th floor was blocked, so she went down to the 7th floor to dispose of the trash. Oddly, every door on the 7th floor was open, and the residents behaved bizarrely, as if possessed. After taking out the trash, Rini noticed that the previously empty hallway was now filled with people. The residents all stared at her with cold, dead eyes. Although Rini didn't believe in ghosts and spirits, this eerie scene sent chills down her spine. Back in her apartment, Rini was restless and couldn't calm down. A million terrifying thoughts blossomed in her mind. On the other side, Wisnu also encountered something inexplicable. The jammed garbage chute mysteriously opened, but he never heard the sound of the trash hitting the bottom. Puzzled, Wisnu peered inside. It's known that Wisnu's father was burned alive in a fire, which means the ghost could very well be father, who died in his coffin. His mother also lost her life in an elevator accident. Once a family of 3, Wisnu was now alone. In his and his mother's eyes, father, who burned to death, was not a good person. Wisnu then pulled out a thick sign language textbook from the cupboard. He thought it taught how to communicate through sign language, but it was actually filled with information about Satan and demons. Now the TV stations are broadcasting that heavy rains will sweep across Gua Frog Island in a few days, and it won't be long before the Mandara apartments are flooded with rainwater. Bari was unmoved after hearing this and insisted on staying. Seeing that they couldn't persuade him, Rini and the others had no choice but to pretend to be calm. The afternoon was exceptionally quiet, and the natural tranquility gradually lulled them to sleep. Suddenly, a woman in a wedding dress slowly emerged from the TV. The predicted heavy rain arrived on schedule 2 days later. At this moment, Tony brought a repaired radio to Tari. In this era, besides the TV, the radio was a household essential, but unexpectedly, the radio, which was playing normally, suddenly emitted a terrifying sound. Tari was terrified by the scene. Wasn't the voice on the radio her own? When she looked up, there was a woman under the ceiling. Tari's scream attracted Tony, who lived next door, but when they looked up again, the terrifying woman had disappeared. Could it be that what Tari saw was just a hallucination? One thing was certain, it was definitely related to the radio on the table. She then asked Tony to throw it away. The farther the better. Unexpectedly, Tony really threw Tari's radio into the trash can. At this moment, Buddyman, following the clues left by Haru, was preparing to head to Mandara apartment. This time, Buddyman came well prepared with artifacts to subdue the satanic demon. However, the heavy rain caused widespread panic, and after a half-hour drive, he realized no one was willing to take him to the apartment. If Buddyman walked to the apartment, who knows how long it would take? As he was worrying, a man appeared eerily in the distance. Anyone who saw the first part would recognize him as the man from the ending. This organization now spanned the entire country, and the man was one of its members. Seeing no sign of the rain stopping, most of the residents evacuated the apartment for safety. The once bustling building was now nearly empty. The only ones left behind were Bondi, who was guarding the dead man, and a few of his classmates. The classmates had to wait for the rain to stop before they could go home. The room plunged into darkness, and strange noises emerged. It was only when the classmates asked round that they realized to their horror that the others hadn't spoken. They nervously investigated and found no one, but saw that water had cut off the electricity, causing the entire building to lose power. The live wires in the water crackled and emitted white smoke. Taking advantage of the empty apartment, they opened the headman's room, accidentally uncovering the mystery shrouding the building. Photos clearly recorded the apartment's location, which was a burial ground decades ago. What puzzled them was that the apartment stairs only went up to the 14th floor, but the photos showed a hidden 15th floor. The dates on the photos were all the 17th, meaning tomorrow. The events of the past would repeat. Elsewhere, the apartment caretaker Ustaz saw Tony. To ensure the safety of each room, Ustaz invited him to join the inspection, but there was nothing unusual in the rooms except for the corpses. Reluctantly, Tony agreed to help Ustaz. When Tony turned around, Ustaz was gone. In this eerie environment, Tony was already scared, but then Ustaz had a slip disc attack. Helpless, Tony took the matches Ustaz gave him and continued the patrol. When he cautiously arrived at room 1303 on the 13th floor, something terrifying was quietly happening beside him. Tony missed this scene perfectly, and when he struck another match, the corpse on the floor returned to its previous state. The earlier sight still scared him out of his wits. Soon after, Dino found Tony fainted on the ground. Dino guided him into a narrow hole where Tony discovered several pictures of the woman in a wedding dress. He realized everyone left in the apartment had disappeared. As Tony fearfully checked the doors and windows of each room, Ustaz, who was supposed to be patrolling, went to Tari's house. After Ustaz left, the dining table inexplicably turned into a grave, and mournful wails echoed from all around the house. Terrified, Tari put on her prayer clothes. Waina, emerging from the elevator shaft, encountered the same thing. The accident had killed Waina's parents, leaving her home devoid of its former warmth. A heavy footsteps kept echoing in the building, and when Waina, who had been attracted to it, looked in the direction, she only saw that all of her little friends who had been smashed to death by the lift had now come over, and the hopscotch game pattern inexplicably appeared under her feet. With her mother's guidance, Waina also took a step into the valley of 10,000 fathoms. The series of terrifying events made Rini suspicious of Bari. For years, Bari claimed to go to work, but no one knew where, and no one knew what was in the box he always carried. While Bari is asleep, Rini takes the key to the cupboard, and with their efforts they are able to guess the combination on it. But when they opened it, what it contained directly scared them silly. The box was filled with countless fingers. Rini remembered the sniper killings reported in the newspaper and realized Bari was the killer lurking in the shadows. Realizing the truth, she wanted to evacuate everyone from the apartment. Strangely, Waina disappeared after entering a room. From the neighboring room came eerie music. Opening the door, they found Waina had mysteriously committed suicide. During this time, they discovered Ian, who had been kidnapped years ago. Despite Tony warning Rini that Ian wasn't their brother, She insisted on taking him with them. In their bid to escape the apartment, everyone tried different methods. Dino grabbed the overhead fire pipe, only to find the area flooded and useless. The empty stairs now had the woman in the wedding dress. In the dead of night, the wedding dress woman terrified Dino. When he got closer, he realized that the person he thought was just a piece of wedding dress. Dino naively thought it was someone's prank and angrily threw the fabric out. Tari, out looking for help, had no idea. Not long after, the wedding dress woman appeared. Fortunately, Tari encountered Ustaz while fleeing. However, Ustaz didn't believe her and boldly went to see the wedding dress woman alone. The woman was around the corner, and Ustaz was gone for half an hour. Sensing something was wrong, Tari checked and found Ustaz had been killed. His neck twisted. She ran away in terror. Unexpectedly, Tari embarked on another path of no return. With her slender frame, she slipped through the narrow garbage chute. Tari thought the woman in the wedding dress wouldn't find her here. Now! Only Rini's family and her classmate were left in the apartment. When Bari discovered that Rini had seen the secret in the box but didn't blame her, he understood that the truth couldn't be hidden forever. Watching his children avoid him, he knew it was only a matter of time before the secret came out. When he saw Ian behind him, Bari, in a frenzy, raised his cane. In her panic to escape, Rini fainted. Fortunately, she soon regained consciousness. She realized that the residents of the apartment were all slaves under Satan's control, and the top floor of the building was their gathering place. After eating it, Rini woke up from this terrible dream, but this time, despite her poor academic record, she won the highest marks of the semester and received a scholarship to her dream travel destination. After just one nap, Rini got everything she ever wanted. The sudden surprise made her unable to believe it was all real. Then, Rini was pulled back to reality from the illusion, and Bari was tied up and tortured. With the commander's order, everyone knew what his fate would be. As she watched her loved ones die one after another, she felt helpless. At this moment, Buddyman finally arrived from a distance, throwing the artifact he held. All the slaves under Satan's control were freed, and Rini seized the opportunity to knock out Ian, whom the demon had sent. Seeing this, Ramanam, in her wedding dress, lunged at him. Buddyman opened the artifact left by Haru. Although this strike wasn't fatal, it bought them a few precious seconds of hope for survival. Rini and her group hurriedly left the apartment building, which was built on a cemetery. The nightmare didn't end with their departure. It was only a matter of time before a bloodstorm of unimaginable horror was unleashed.
Seharusnya semalam kita datang.
Kita harus membiarkan peristiwa semalam terjadi sesuai rencana kita. Ingat?